Hello, everybody. Today we are here with Alison Dedrick. She's an American from the United States, from Michigan. And Alison, it's very nice having you here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me. This is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, it's very nice. So we've met on a trip here in Brazil. So actually, that was a little bit about how was your last experience coming to Brazil. Actually, it was the first time, your first time coming down here, right? So
Yes,
and
it was
then
my first time.
everybody will understand us better. Let's go.
It was the flight was very, very long, but once we got here, it was we were busy forever. There was really no rest time. We had breakfast and on. We went to the Pantanal, stayed there a week, went to 3 different lodges. It was phenomenal. Went to the Foz do Iguaçu Falls.
Yeah.
Went to both sides. They were wonderful. Went to Capitola and Lake Furnace, and it was gorgeous. So it was just a wonderful trip. We were busy all the time, made good friends, and I enjoyed it completely.
I'm very glad to hear that. So you've mentioned Capitólio, right? Capitólio is Furnace in Minas Gerais, which is quite close here from where I am right now in Ribeirão Preto, São Paulo. So tell us a little bit of some of the big highlights there in the Pantanal. I mean, the birds, some of the things that you enjoyed the most.
Okay.
I've heard even of a jaguar. Am I right?
Well, the only thing of the jaguar that I saw was our group. We were in 3 groups. Our group was the unluckiest one. The only part of the jaguar I saw was its behind end going into the weeds, and then its tail going like this through the weeds. That's all we saw. Another group saw 2 males fighting and the female laying on the ground, and another group just had it walking right towards their bus, their car. So they were real lucky. We saw anteaters, tapirs, all sorts of caimans. Let's see. Oh, coatis. No, we didn't see coatis in Pantanal, but we did see capybaras, which are just big hamsters, you know.
Yeah. No,
and the Pantanal it's nothing like what I thought it was. I was thinking more of a rainforest as opposed to a wetland. But when we started boating through it, and you're taking your videos, and it had these beautiful hyacinths, and it smells good, and the water's clear as can be. And then every once in a while you'll see a jabiru,
the bird,
or
right?
a hawk, or the birds were tremendous. It was just a great experience. And then the lodges were fun. I mean, we partied there every night. So
that's great.
It was, and the food was good, especially at the first one.
Yeah. I've seen a video of a jaguar approaching your car, and you had like an open car, right? And
that was not mine.
Okay, like you.
But I saw that video too. So.
But Pantanal is a very unique region here in Brazil, right? I think it's unique all over the world. It's just like you said, people have misconceptions about it, right?
Yes.
Which is a very beautiful wetland and is different from anything else, right? So I'm very glad you came here, because many Brazilians unfortunately don't have the opportunity to go there. I myself haven't been yet. I will though soon.
It's the largest wetland in the world.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Indeed. Very nice. Very great. So I'm very happy that I enjoyed so much. But tell us a little bit more about yourself. So you say that you are a Midwestern lady, right? So can you tell us?
In the United States, we don't have an accent, especially if you're from Wisconsin, which is where I was born and raised. We don't have an accent. If you live in Chicago, you pick up something, but the states that would be Midwest are maybe Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty much the Midwestern states. And I've lived in 4 of them, 5. Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Illinois. I forgot Illinois. Yeah, those 5. but mostly I was raised in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, which is the largest city in Wisconsin, and then moved to Illinois, where I went to high school and college. And then my first teaching job was in Iowa along the Mississippi River. And then when I got married, my husband got a American football coaching position in Michigan. So we moved here, and I've been here ever since. So
what are the main characteristics of this region compared with the other regions in United States? Because United States is such a big country, just like Brazil, right?
Yes.
What could you say for a foreigner coming from Brazil or South America? What would be the main highlights of going to this specific region of the United States, Alice?
Well, in my part of the Midwest, which would include Wisconsin, Ohio, Illinois, and up into Canada too, is we have the 5 Great Lakes, and Michigan touches the 5 Great Lakes. That was Superior, Erie, Huron, Michigan, and Ontario. That's it. So and Michigan touches all of them. Lake Superior is the largest of them all, but I think I'm not going to say it because I'll be wrong. One of them, either Michigan or Huron, are the deepest. The upper, Michigan is divided into 2 parts, and our top part always wants to become a different state. They don't want to be associated with us, and so that would be awful if they did that. And then there's water that separates us, and we have a bridge that's 5 miles long to get from the lower peninsula, and they call us trolls, which trolls, that's not very nice. And we call them Yoopers, which doesn't mean anything, but they live in the UP. So
all right, I know.
That's Wisconsin. I mean, Michigan. Wisconsin's very similar to Michigan.
Is it like a very industrial area? I've heard also that you like the rodeos, and you had a horse breeding farm.
Yes,
is this a characteristic of this part of the Midwest, or is it specific from Wisconsin?
That's Midwest. There's corn is our big corn and soybeans. I mean, so you in Illinois and Iowa and Nebraska, the land is just flat like a table, and it's rich earth. Ohio, they have a couple other things, and when you get to one side of the state, there's mountains or high hills, but you have a lot of industry. Buick, Ford, Chevrolet, those are all built in the Michigan, Ohio area. And then if you go over to Wisconsin and Iowa, you have Caterpillar, John Deere, those companies. So there's a lot of manufacturing here. And that's the city that I live in has been hurt because of the manufacturing, 20 years ago, and poor government too, but we don't want to get into that.
So you're sorry, I was just thinking that you were big on agriculture too, just like the way we're here, right? Yes.
We have a lot of, Wisconsin's known for their dairy farmers.
Dairy farms.
So they have a lot of cheese. Plus, Wisconsin's known for their beer. It's the beer capital of the world, Milwaukee especially. So each state's a little bit different, but there's a commonality of where they are locality-wise in the United States, and kind of what they do. Then you have Chicago, which would be the biggest city in the Midwest, and it's a lovely, lovely city. It's so much fun to go to.
I've heard there was a fire there, Alison, a long time ago, and then they rebuilt the city, and then it got all modern and everything. Is that true?
It was a great Chicago fire, but this is an interesting note that many people don't know. There's a small town in Wisconsin called Peshtigo, and they had a fire on the same day as the Great Chicago Fire.
Wow!
But only a few people died in the Chicago fire, but 2,500 people died in this Peshtigo, Wisconsin fire.
2,500.
2,500.
Oh,
And it didn't get any kind of press because, you know, you got Chicago, plus you had Mayor Daley was there. That helped a lot. We have a lot of the agriculture, but we have a lot of farms, and there's a lot of horse farms. And we had a horse farm, and as I worked during the days and at nights and mornings, I would feed my horses and break ice. I'd be jumping on buckets of ice to break them so we could put water in them. And then my daughter showed the horses, and I like to breed the horses. So we had babies all the time. And we showed them, had a good time, met lots of nice people, went all over the United States, Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, Florida, you name it. We were on the road a lot, and I drove one of those big trucks and trailers, and
really,
yes.
Oh my! Because you participated in something that United States is like a championship, right? Can you please tell us a little bit about that? That you were a champion and everything, right?
No, not everything. My kids might have been, but not me. I won our national championship in a class called Western Pleasure, which is you kind of just sit there and the horse does everything.
All right.
There's equitation classes, and that judges the rider. I would never win one of those. My kids did, but and they did the gaming. They did the barrels. I don't know. You've seen horses that run around.
Barrels, yeah. We've got something like that.
And then they have roping classes. I did team penning, more for fun and a way to keep the horses' minds fresh instead of going around in a circle all the time. And so you'd have 8 cows out there and 3 people on horses, and you tried to cut one out and put it through a chute. And it was always fun. You know, and you just had to have for me, I didn't want to fall off. I was chicken. So, so like my thing was breeding of the horses. And so starting in January, the babies were born, and I had it on closed circuit TV so that we could watch and go out there. And if I had to call the veterinarian, I could call him.
How long did you have this farm, Alison? How long?
I had it for 25 years, 24 years. And then, it got to be too much work, and
it's a lot of work indeed.
Yes, and it's not particularly cheap. But both my daughters got married, moved out. My husband had died, so I wanted to travel, and one of the things that happened is when he was healthy enough to travel, he didn't, because he was coaching football and girls track. But when he wasn't doing that and he had the time, he didn't have the health to do it. So that was my vow, was that I'm not going to wait until I'm too ill or too old to travel. So
that's a fantastic story. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that with all of us. And since you've mentioned, you were talking about the ice and everything, so it gets very cold in winter time there in Michigan. Right?
Yes, it does. You know,
it snows and everything. So because it's up there in the north, almost with the border with Canada, right? Just like you were mentioning before.
We're separated by Canada with a lake.
Yeah.
But we're kind of in the middle of the state.
You
get into the Upper Peninsula, this part, and they get heaps of snow. The most I think we've had since I lived in this area was 2.5 feet of snow in a day.
2.5 feet of snow in a day. Wow.
And everything shuts down until they can get, we were in a car. So we had to be taken by sleds to a high school to spend 2 nights until the roads opened again. Yeah, and it can be very cold. Usually it's not as bad as it used to be. I'm sure that's the climate change.
Yeah.
So now the kids, I mean, we had to walk to school when there was a foot of snow. The kids now, if there's this much snow, they don't go. It's nice for the teachers, we can just stay home too.
They are complaining. Okay, I see. Very, very great. You were also saying that because of your vows, you're now traveling as much as you can. So where have you been that was a little bit about the place you've been to in Europe, Asia, Africa. You've been a lot to America, right? Central America and Latin America.
Yeah, Central America. I used to go in the winters and stay in Costa Rica for 2 to 3 months. And then from there, I'd go to Nicaragua, Panama, let's see, Colombia, Peru. I think I'm going on to Ecuador with Vicky's tour next year. Brazil. I still have a couple. Bolivia I want to get to. Went to Vietnam, China. Was in South Korea, didn't stay very long.
Mm-hmm.
Then Italy, England, Scotland, a couple other places in Italy, not to Germany though. So Canada, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Alaska, which is part of the US, but it's so far away. It's a very nice trip to go to Alaska.
Yeah, what has been the most interesting? I know that it's hard to say, right? Since you've been to so many, but for example, China, Vietnam, any nice different things about these two particular countries, because they're very different, right? The culture and everything.
Well, I'm sure you're aware of the big conflict that was between Vietnam and the United States back in the 60s and 70s. So I was hesitant.
War of Vietnam and everything, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm.
A lot of the men my age in high school and college went to Vietnam, and many of them didn't come back.
I know.
But this trip was offered through Friendship Force, and it was delightful. We spent time in Ho Chi Minh City, which used to be Saigon, and went to Hanoi. But my favorite place was a little town. It was a trekking town. It was a kilometer away from the China border. It was absolutely gorgeous. It's called Sapa. And the people, the one family I stayed with, I'm going to go back and help. They own a winery, and I'm going to go back and help them. They keep, when are you coming back? When are you coming back to Sapa? That was my favorite place in Vietnam. We even busted a wedding. There was in front of the big cathedral, there was a young couple getting married. So we were taking pictures, and the photographer said, and the family said, come on and join us. So here's 25 Americans for this young couple's wedding, and all their pictures. It was really funny, and of course we had a good time with it. And then in Peru, Machu Picchu's great, but I think what I like about some of these trips, like the Pantanal, everybody wants to go to the Amazon or Rio or that kind of thing. But we went to some digs that were maybe 5 years old. They hadn't even, just discovered, and they were just taking and peeling things away. And there still was so much gold left in them that they had armed guards everywhere. And if you took one step one way or another, one of the guards would approach you. But it was really, nobody, don't ask me the name though. There was a couple of them. We did a lot of stuff like that was different than, we did see Machu Picchu and Lake Titicaca and those kind of places. And it was a wonderful trip, but those new digs are they're amazing. Just the way they take, and there's a dog there. It looks like it's hairless, and he just wanders around. They said he's been there forever. Like a ghost kind of, but you can see him.
Very nice. Very great. And what's next now? Because you also told me here in person when we were there in Capitolio, right? In Furnace, which was very great too, the canyon and everything. I think you enjoyed it. Was
beautiful.
Yeah, it's very beautiful indeed. You've told me that you're going to travel as much as you can, right? Now that you are retired and everything. So what's next? What's on your bucket list? Wow, Ecuador. Ecuador is great.
But Bolivia, the salt flats are on my list, and Morocco and Turkey and Greece.
Oh wow, great list.
Yeah, that's going to take a couple years. Plus, I want to go back to Vietnam and South Korea. So
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And since we're talking a lot about trips and traveling, what do you think about the English language? I know that for you is very comfortable, but do you think there is still fear of many people communicating or trying to communicate with you, who is a native speaker, whenever you're traveling abroad, or how is that thing of the language? Could you please tell us a little bit about that? And if you speak other languages as well, if you speak Spanish
Yeah.
or French, or yeah.
My Spanish is it's minimal, but I usually can get my thought across. I can
Yeah.
read Spanish and I can read Portuguese to a degree. Vietnam would be very, very difficult. I don't think I could ever speak that. But you know, we have Google Translate that is
Helps a
they
lot.
didn't have that years ago. And so you bought a book and you had phrases and you just killed whatever you were saying. But I think anybody that's going someplace and is not comfortable with the language, even if they know it, has a fear that they're going to say a word incorrectly or that they're going to look silly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've done it. Yes, I substituted two words that were spelled the same, but they had different. And the woman said, "No, don't say that. That means this." And I went, "Oh Lord." So I think what I would tell anybody and myself is ask a question. Know how to say, how do you say this? Or can you slow down? Know in any country you go to, know those two phrases. And then, or I don't speak your language. You know, that's the other big one.
Yeah,
And
sure.
don't be afraid. You're only going to learn if you ask.
Absolutely.
And you know,
it's all about the learning, right? I think the learning thing is the most important, and to be open, to expose yourself to this new adventures and frightening thing, right? Which is another culture, another language. So it's so hard, but you shouldn't close you off for it, right? Because the world is too big, it's too beautiful, and we need to see it. And traveling is the best way to do so.
Yes,
so if you're able to speak any language, don't be afraid, don't be shy. So yeah.
And yeah, don't be afraid if you make a mistake. I don't know anybody that if you said the word bus wrong, that they would laugh, or when they might correct you, which I appreciate. If I say the word wrong, then correct me, you know, nicely. Don't, you know, make it, but do it nicely. And I would appreciate that. And I might have to say it a few times, but I think that's and you know, that's the importance of traveling too, is to develop friendships with people that are from other countries, you know, and Americans have, especially in Europe and some of the other places, have really bad reputations as travelers, and have to be an ambassador to these countries to help them understand what your country's about, but then to be really clued into what their country's about and open and willing to listen. So
very nice.
Yeah. In English, one of the best ways you're going to learn is to come and live with somebody in the United States.
Okay.
The best place for me to learn a foreign language is to go to that country and live there, you know. And
absolutely. These interchange programs are really important and interesting, right?
Yes.
I think they make the best of the immersion thing, right?
Immersion.
If you're immersed in this environment. But I think nowadays with the internet and these types of things like a podcast, the way that we're doing today, it helps a lot the people who want to listen to a native speaker, and that's so nice, that's so great, that's awesome. And that's why we have been doing that, and I'm so happy to have you here today, Alison. And I really appreciated that.
It's been fun.
You're so kind to be here with us today, and thank you so very much. Hope to see you again other times here in Brazil, right? I really
Oh,
hope
I'd love to.
you come back and explore more, because we've got so much more.
Yes.
And you're always
Yes.
welcome.
Well, yes, I would love to come back. I think and I would love to have somebody up here with me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to arrange that. We will arrange that.
Yeah.
Probably in the next years, we're gonna be able to do something through
Right.
Friendship Force, right? Is
Sure.
how we've met. And I think that's very important, just like the way you were saying about the friendship. I think friendship is another great way to learn, right? Because if you're able to keep a conversation going, even if
Yes.
it's texting, nowadays with the cameras, we can have it in a video call, just like we're doing today. Is an excellent way to learn and to improve, and of course to get to know people's cultures, right? That's why we're here.
Just the difference in food and the difference in beers and the difference in everything. I can say, well, I like this beer in Portugal. Of course, I was laughed at when I said I really like Brahma, but
yes, yeah, you've said that, and you've tasted many here in Ribeirão Preto, right?
Yeah.
We've got good ones here, no? What do you think?
Good. Huh? Real good.
Our draft beer is good, yeah. But thank you so much, Alison.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate your time, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay, me too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye.